now we are live. Hi, everybody. We're just going to give it about a minute and then get started. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Better Health's weekly ostomy webinar. Today, as you all know, we're going to be talking about ostomy and your diet. This is actually the first topic we started our webinar series with, and it's remained one of our most popular subjects. And so we're so excited that you're all here and to be able to chat with you today. My name is Ariha. I'm joined by my colleague Siobhan. We are on the content and education team here at Better Health. Yeah, let's go ahead and dive right in. Just a quick word about logistics. We would really like this to be as interactive as possible. Siobhan has a lot of really amazing content to share with you guys, but we'd love to hear from you too. So if you have any questions or if you have your own stories or tips that you'd like to share, please don't be shy. There's a couple of ways to get our attention. One is to just use the chat function at the bottom of your screen, and you can ask us to pause if something is unclear or just send in your questions and we'll answer them. The other way is to use the little raise hand button that you can see at the bottom of your screen. It's a little yellow hand symbol. And if you click on that, that'll just let us know that you have something to say, and we'll pause and call on you. Okay, so next slide, please. So yeah, like I said, today we'll be talking about the relationship between your ostomy and your diet and how that can change and evolve over time. We'll dive into a little bit about nutrition, specifically after your ostomy surgery, a couple of things to keep in mind. We'll dive into some common problems such as dehydration, which is a big one, as well as some other issues that are common, and how to notice anticipate the symptoms for them, as well as how to prevent and treat those issues. We do have a little Q&A time at the end, but like I said, don't feel like you have to wait till the end to ask your questions. Just get our attention at any time. Next slide, please. So just to get started, who are we and why are we here? So Better Health is a new type of medical provider, and we really like to take a holistic view of your healthcare journey. A lot of us on our team are ostomates and have, chronic issues. And so we really know how important it is to find the support and the community that you need, especially with ostomy. Something that we hear over and over again is how hard it is to find information that's accurate and relevant to you at the time that you actually need it, as well as, how to meet other ostomates so you can share your stories. And so that's something that we place a lot of emphasis on. So we do provide educational resources like this webinar series. We also have a peer coaching program. So we have a team of vetted ostomates, including Siobhan, who you can schedule an appointment with, and they're happy to answer your questions one-on-one on a private phone call, help you with product issues or just provide any sort of support that you need. We also have a lot of product experts. So if you're having specific product issues, we're happy to answer your questions. And we're also a supplier. So once we help you identify the products that are right for you, if you so choose, we are happy to help you kind of purchase those supplies and deliver them right to your door. So kind of whatever you need, we're trying to be here and help you out. And with that, I will pass it over to Siobhan, and we'll get started. Again, welcome everybody.
Hi everyone. Again, my name is Siobhan. I'm so excited to be here. I have an ileostomy myself that I've had for about 6 years. And I actually joined Better Health because one of my goals after having my own ostomy was making sure that people didn't go through the process the way that I did, which is to say that, I struggled. I didn't know about different products. I didn't know about what to eat. I just had a lot of questions and a lot of a large learning curve that made things really difficult for me. And so my goal as an ostomate and to be here today is to make that learning curve be a little less painful for people who come after me. Just help the people who walk down the road later on have a smoother journey. And I have to say, though, that for me personally, my ostomy has made a huge difference in my life. It's given me my life back. I'm able to be the mom that I want to be. I'm able to be the spouse that I want to be, and to live my life the way that I wanted to. Prior to having the ostomy, I had ulcerative colitis, and if you're familiar with that or with Crohn's, you know that those things can be very debilitating and keep you housebound. So the ostomy comes with its challenges, but it also allows me so much more freedom in my life than I ever had before. And so if you're here today, you have questions about what you can eat, what you can drink, and how those things affect your ostomy. So we're going to answer those and figure out how to some solutions for any problems that you might be having. All right. So, I think a key question to answer in the beginning is, why is my diet different after my ostomy? And there's a couple of big reasons. There's changes to your ostomy, to your body, to your digestion. And, as a caveat, a lot of this information is ostomy specific, meaning that you can eat or drink, what you can eat or drink depends a lot on what type of ostomy you have. So for example, if you have a urostomy, that's an ostomy that takes urine from the body from the kidneys, that you're going to have a different experience with what you can eat and drink compared to somebody who has an ileostomy or a colostomy, which is what removes solid waste from the body. So the good news for people who have a urostomy is that you can eat or drink pretty much whatever you like, based, according to your doctor's orders and what you would, and they figure out. If you have the colostomy or the urostomy, the colostomy or the ileostomy, things are going to be a little bit different. So, what you should know with a colostomy or an ileostomy is that the food is going to leave your body a little faster than you are maybe used to. So sometimes in just a few hours. You have a new exit. So basically you want to keep in mind that whatever you put in has to be able to come back out. So the food particles that you put in your mouth, whatever they are, whatever you chew and whatever you digest, have to be able to pass through your stoma. And the stomal opening is a lot smaller than the anal opening, basically. So, you have to keep that in mind as you're eating. And finally, here's a fun fact. We actually, all of us need, depending on our gender and, just how, personal preferences, we all need about 12 to 15 cups of fluid a day, which comes from both the food that we eat and also the drinks that we drink. Usually, a lot of our fluid helps our body. Usually a lot of the fluid that our bodies need for good health is reabsorbed into the small intestines. But if you have an ostomy, that fluid is going to right out through the body, right out through the stoma. And so that way you're losing extra fluids and you need to replace them. All right, but the good news is that you can still eat many of your favorite foods. And we'll talk about what those foods can be in a moment. When you're first having an ostomy, you want to change your approach to meal planning. So one of the things that you should know is that you want to keep your digestive system active. And for that, the reason for that is because if it's active, your digestive system is going to move food through the body and out into your ostomy bag, which is what you want. If your food sits in your body, if your digestive system goes to sleep because you're going through a long period during the day where you're not eating, your food's going to kind of sit there, and there's a greater chance for gas to build up, and that can lead to like pouch ballooning and you needing to burp your pouch to release some of that gas. Or it could lead to a blockage, which is something you want to avoid at all costs, especially if you're someone who likes to eat like salads or something like that. You want that food to not just sit there. You want to eat it, and then you want to pass it out. So to break it down a little bit more in terms of meal planning, you have right after surgery. So that first 0 to 6 weeks is really important because a lot of things are happening in terms of how you're healing. And you want to eat a low residue diet. So a low residue diet includes foods that are easy to digest, such as mashed potatoes, oatmeal, bananas, all the things that you see on the list here. And it also limits high fiber foods. So, vegetables that have skins or fruits that have skins, corn, nuts, red meats, all of those things are high fiber and difficult to digest. And the reason that you want to have this low fiber diet is because it allows the bowel to rest and heal after surgery, to adapt to its new state after surgery. And so it's not working as hard to digest food with the slow, it's not working as hard to digest food as it is when you're having a low residue diet. So 6+ weeks after surgery, you want to give your appetite some time to return. I know some people are ready to eat right after surgery. Some people are, their bodies are reacting negatively or slower to heal. I apologize for that. You want to focus on having a balanced diet. So we all know that we should balance proteins, strong, good, lean proteins like fish or chicken or turkey, nuts if you're a vegetarian, and beans are a good source of protein, with fruits and vegetables, and then also with some grains. So, all of those things keep us healthy. They provide the essential nutrients that we need, the vitamins that we need, the energy sources that we need. Don't force yourself to eat, especially if you feel like you should be eating. It takes time for the bowel to heal. So you want to take some time to just let your appetite build back up. And like I said, keep those meals more smaller and more frequent. And then sometimes families need some time to adjust to your new food needs. So they may not understand why you're eating like 4 to 5 or 6 meals a day versus sort of this typical schedule that we keep with breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So, they might even pressure you to, eat bigger meals. And, sometimes grandmas show their love by saying, oh, I finished your food on your plate. Love is food and love definitely dovetail and go together really strongly. But in this case, there's a limit, and you want to only eat as much as you can tolerate. And it's really uncomfortable from my personal history, is to eat a big meal and have it sit there and then have it flood into the bag after I'm done digesting. So, if you want to manage your bag output, the smaller meals are the way to go. I get a lot of questions about, can I still go out to eat after my surgery? Of course you can. If you're going out to eat in a safe way, given that we are in COVID and we need to maintain social distances and all that good stuff. So just keep in mind when you go out to eat that a lot of restaurants serve serve delicious food, but it's usually because there's a lot of extra fat and sugars and salt added to your food. So keep in mind that you want to maybe go easy on the spicy dishes or go easy on the super acidic dishes, like tomatoes in particular tend to make dishes more acidic. Go easy on those greasy French fries. All of those things can lead to bowel upset. And, especially if you're trying to get used to your ostomy, you want to avoid all that uncomfortableness. Additionally, alcoholic drinks and carbonated drinks, you still have those in small amounts. Just be aware that those also can upset the gastric tract and make you uncomfortable. They can also lead to gas in the pouch, which can be problematic if your pouch gets too full of gas. A note about sugar and salt. This is something that comes up a lot in our webinars and in our conversations with other ostomates. We all kind of have this craving for salt and sugar. Personally, I never added salt to my food before I have an ostomy. I didn't need to. And now I'm adding salt all the time. But the caveat is that you can add a little bit of salt to your meal, a little bit of sugar for your meal, because your body needs maybe that extra boost to, for maintaining your electrolytes, especially in salt, or you need that extra energy to heal your bowel. But this is not a carte blanche to go through, crazy. Just add a couple of shakes. have a little teaspoon or two of sugar, keep a snack nearby. Until you get to know how your body responds to digestion, it's a good idea to, pay really close attention to, these cravings, to keep some things. I always have like a little pouch with me, a little like emergency snack pouch. So I keep like a Cliff Bar or something like that to kind of manage those cravings, and to also keep that small meal and keep the bowel active. So we talk a lot about diet, and I think a lot of people think about diet in terms of food, but it's really important to pay attention to diet in terms of hydration as well. Hydration is the other side of the coin. And the reason that hydration is so important is that ostomates were at a higher risk for dehydration. I mentioned earlier that our fluids leave our bodies a lot faster than they used to, especially if you have a colostomy or an ileostomy. And this is because the bowels don't have a chance to reabsorb those fluids. So, because they're no longer there. So, excuse me, I had to take a drink of water. Just keep that in mind. Pay attention to, how much fluid you're taking in. It's just really, really important, and make sure you're keeping fluids up during the day. And actually, this reminds me, I have, because I'm so conscious about my fluids, I probably go through about 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, or maybe even 7 or 8 cups a day. They're all around the house. So I have my purple cup here. That's kind of my constant companion throughout the day. And then, I also leave a trail of cups. I have my coffee cup. I usually have like another drink, like orange juice or V8 juice, sitting on my desk. I don't today, but the thing is, my husband's kind of trailing behind me, picking up my cups all day. And, I asked him one time if he was bothered by that. And he said, no, Siobhan, I'm not bothered by your cups. Cups mean you're hydrated. And it also means if you're drinking, you're not having any medical problems. I'd much rather have you at home and, clean up all your cups, which he doesn't. I definitely clean up my own cups sometimes, but, than in the hospital and having to be on IV fluids. It's a pretty easy equation to figure out, the choice is much better if you have all those cups lying around. So let's talk about signs of dehydration. Dark urine can be a sign of dehydration, or passing urine less often than normal. I've actually noticed in a lot of older ostomates, they describe feeling dizzy or lightheaded, and that could be a big sign of dehydration. My own parent went through, when my dad actually just recently went through this, that he got severely dehydrated, and he went and got fluids, and he was like a different person. So, keep that in mind. Things that you can do to rehydrate if you're feeling dehydrated, just a glass of water is always great. I think 9 times out of 10 it cures the problem. But if you need that electrolyte boost, if you're feeling, I don't know, you know your own body, but I would say that oftentimes after we've had something that makes us feel better, like a G2, like a Gatorade or V8 juice, we realize that, oh, that really helped. So, you have a lot of different options around to make yourself rehydrate. One of my favorites is something called Drip Drop. It's in this little packet, it comes in this little packet. It is deliberately and purposely designed, is an easy to take along rehydration option. It's only about 30 calories, which is great because it's not heavy on the sugar. It's good for those of us who are diabetic. And then, like I said, it's very easy. You could put it in your pocket or your purse or your wallet, whatever you need. And it's right there with you. You can add it to your water at the restaurant, or if you're driving on a road trip or something like that. All right, so we kind of covered diet from,
sorry, we have a quick question about eating habits in the chat.
Oh, okay, great. What is it? Sorry, I don't have my chat window open. Can you read it?
Yeah. So this is a question from Marianne. Thank you, Marianne. I was diagnosed with Crohn's in 1979 and had 8 surgeries before my ostomy in 2014. So I've lost quite a bit of intestine, as well as 3/4 of my large bowel. Since my ostomy, I have been able to eat most anything, but have still had some blockages. I was told by my surgeon that I could eat whatever I wanted, but I'm finding that to not be true. When I am bored, I eat. I need support as far as my eating habits are concerned. Can you help with that? So I think the question is, what are the foods that kind of could maybe help with, not causing blockages, and any suggestions as to not eat when you're bored, and just try to keep track of that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not quite. So can you kind of restate the question? I'm not sure I quite followed.
Yeah, I think the gist of the question, and Marianne, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the gist of the question is, she was told by her surgeon that she could eat anything that she wanted, but that's not quite true, because she still has been facing, some frequent blockages. So that's one question, food and blockages, and then the other question is more about kind of managing how much and how frequently she feels like she eats.
Yeah. So I always think of eating in terms. It's a good question. Thank you, Marianne. And I'm sorry you've lost so much bowel. Sometimes I feel like, I'm just a stomach, and that's the end of me, just me and my stomach and my ostomy. I think of how much to eat in terms of like how big your stomach actually is. Our stomachs definitely can expand and they can get used to larger bits of food. But and I don't have it up here, but I usually use like just a sort of average size bowl, maybe about this big. Our stomachs are kind of fist size, that can expand. So I think if it fits in the bowl, it will fit in my stomach, and that's the amount that I eat. If I go any bigger than that, I definitely will encounter some problems. And then in terms of when to eat, I would advise that you want to eat, try and eat your regularly scheduled meals. It's all about sort of keeping getting your bowel into habits, and making sure that you're keeping your digestive system active, and you're eating it periodically, so that you're stimulating the bowel to keep it, moving. Like I said, if there's a long period of time between meals, your bowel can kind of go to sleep, and then you end up waking it up. It's difficult to wake it back up. So, this is for example, this is something that's evident when you like wake up in the morning and you notice that your stoma is not very active. I see. Joe also asked a question. His question is that if foods were able to pass through his small intestines before, why do they get stuck when emptying into a pouch? It's a really good question. The answer is that the stomal opening is usually constructed so that it's closed. It's an aperture, which is an opening that's closed. So yes, it could pass through. Food could pass through the tube before. But now it's been constricted somewhat. The small intestines have been constricted somewhat to make that stoma. And so that's why the reason you're getting those extra blockages. All right, so yeah, we were talking about, it's a good transition. We're talking about what goes in, let's talk about what comes out. As a side note, if I'm not answering your questions very well, if you feel like I haven't answered them completely, please let me know, and I can try and expand on any answers that I have. So like I said, blockages are a big deal. Here's a list of what it looks like and feels like. For me, personally, like I noticed that my stoma started to swell quite a lot when I have had a blockage. I've had 2 that required hospitalization. Fortunately, I didn't need surgery, but I did have to have a lot of uncomfortable fluid pass through to kind of break up the blockage. And then of course it was very, very painful, extraordinarily painful. So, if you can avoid your blockages at all costs, I would say do that. And actually the reason I got blockages is I got a little cocky about what I could eat comfortably. So I went a little heavy on the raw vegetables, raw carrots and some nuts and some cherries. And those things are a bad combination. So then I had a mechanical blockage. I just had food particles that were too big and that couldn't pass out. And that definitely got me in trouble. So I know to avoid those things now. Some things that you can try. I have had a 3rd blockage actually that resolved with just trying these steps. Massage the abdomen. A warm shower or bath especially is good for kind of helping the blood vessels in the body, and in the digestive tract expand and pass through things. Some gentle stretching to kind of help the bowel expand. Some walks around the house, that's also very good for just general digestion. And then warm drinks like broth or tea. If you can keep your fluids going, that's really important. Oftentimes that will help that mass of food particles break up. Never try to force food out through your stoma opening. You might make the problem worse by making tears or damage to the stoma itself. And then finally, do not hesitate to go to the ER. This is a really important point. Stomas can become life-threatening situations very, very quickly and get out of control. So my experience has been when I went to the ER and said that, I had an ostomy and I suspect a blockage that, with behind the ostomy, behind my stoma. I then kind of got fast-tracked. So to clarify a little bit, thanks, Joe. To go back is you can gently massage, gentle pressure, maybe no harder than when you're like petting a dog or a cat, or you're, holding a baby. So gentle, like, you want to take care of yourself, but you don't want to try and like press really hard and force something out, like, to use a gross example, like popping a pimple, right? That's not the strategy. You want to avoid that. But that sort of gentle rubbing, that can help. All right, so on the other side is too much output. What happens when you're just dumping fluids into your bag and dumping food particles into your bag. These are the signs: a lot of watery output, things that are, your ostomy bag is filling up more than usual, or maybe there's a bad odor to your output. That might be a sign of diarrhea. Honestly, for ileostomies, I would say it's really difficult to tell if you have just a normal, like your ileostomy is just acting normal and dumping a bunch of fluid, which is what ileostomies do, or if you, and sometimes colostomies as well, or if you actually have diarrhea, you might actually have an infection, happening in your stomach. So, bad odor can be a sign of that. And the key is to helping control it, or to keep track of how much you drink and how much you output, so you know if more is coming out than is going in. You want to drink fluids to replace electrolytes, like we talked about a little bit earlier, the G2 low sugar Gatorade, or the drip drop packets, or coconut milk or coconut water. Those things are really good. You want to eat some foods that add bulk. So this is one of my favorite tips that I've learned as an ostomate, is that, there's oatmeal and bananas and nut butters that you can eat to add bulk to your diet, or mashed potatoes, and to kind of slow down your ostomy so that it's not dumping liquid out. But marshmallows are actually a really good option. Eat a couple, 3 or 4 marshmallows, and they will just definitely slow things down. I'm not quite sure about the science behind it, but it has been studied scientifically. So, I say go for it. If you like marshmallows or have them on hand, they definitely help. Oh, and then finally, talk to your doctor about which diarrhea medicines to use. Some of them are actually very okay to use for an ostomy, and then some you should not use at all because of other problems that they can bring up. So that's definitely a medical professional question that you should bring up. All right, pancaking. What does it look like? Pancaking is a funny term. And it means that, like, when your ostomy is outputting, it's all I have a bag here to demonstrate. It's all the output is kind of sticking up here around your stoma. And the reason that pancaking is bad is because you really do want that output to fall into the bag and away from the stoma. If it sits at the stoma area, it's going to cause problems for the barrier. It might compromise the barrier because output is acidic and kind of eats away at the barrier. And you surely want to avoid that. So, some ways to manage pancaking. It can be a sign of dehydration. So again, drink those fluids. You can create more room in your bag using a tissue. So This is a great trick. I'm not quite sure where I learned this, just along the way talking with people. But the way that you do this trick is you take a piece of tissue, just, clean Kleenex that you have around the house. You want to roll it up a little bit into like a tube. So that's what I'm doing right here. So I've rolled this tissue into a tube. And then what you're going to do is stick it around the top of your bag, like so. Let's see if I have it. Yeah. And the reason you do this is because it actually creates more space within the bag for the output to come out from the stoma and drop down. So it's a really good trick. Another really good trick option. And I found out recently talking to somebody who was who'd had her ostomy for 19 years and she never heard of this, is lubricating deodorant. You just, add a few drops to your pouch. This tears off in the packet and you kind of add it in. You massage it around the pouch and it creates a more slick environment, and that way the output isn't able to stick to the bag. It falls down into the bag where it should. One other final trick with the filter, and down here on the bottom, I'm going to say skip or cover the filter. If you have a filter, sometimes physics gets in the way of our lives, and physics meaning this kind of a closed pouch can create a vacuum. So you can cover this filter, and that sometimes allows the pouch to open up a little bit more and let the output fall down. Filters come from, they should be included with your bags, with your ostomy bags if you have a filtered ostomy bag. So you would look into the bag, and I don't think I have any right to hand, but those filters are usually included in the box, and they're like a sheet of stickers. Ballooning is another crazy thing. I've never heard of anybody, especially within like the medical environment, like the sheets and the handouts and the websites that I was given, after my surgery when I left the hospital, they never really talked about ballooning. And it's something I discovered on my own. If you've never ballooned, if you've never woken up in the middle of the night or even in the morning and found your pouch just like so full of air that you feel like it's going to pop off and cause a leak. And actually sometimes it does cause a leak. That's ballooning. And the way that you can avoid that is to avoid carbonated drinks, especially, I love my Coke Zeros and the occasional, diet sodas, but I make sure I only have one a day because otherwise I end up with a big balloon bag. I also try to avoid straws, although I'm also a klutz. So I do have a straw in my drink, and that way I'm not knocking over my drinks and spilling it all over my expensive computer equipment. And then eat fewer gas-inducing foods. So Brussels sprouts are gas-inducing. Chewing gum can have you swallow gas. Legumes, baked beans, beans are famous for adding gas to your system. So you want to manage, those sort of gas-inducing foods that you might have in your diet. Okay, so we're almost to the end here. There's a few key takeaways that I want you to remember before we kind of open it up and have a chat around, what I hope when you leave this webinar today that you remember, even if you don't remember the previous half hour of me chattering at you. So, focus on your nutrition with your ostomy. It's just so important. I can't state how important it is that you have good nutrition and you have a balanced diet, because it'll help you heal faster, and feel better sooner. And then you can get back to your life, because nobody wants to, stand around changing their ostomy bags. You want to focus on hydration. It means you'll feel better, you'll feel more alert, and you'll have a better experience just passing food through your ostomy. Get to know what normal looks like for you. I know what normal looks like for me, and I know what foods work for me, what to drink and what not to drink. And you should know that about yourself too. Keep track of your output, so you'll know if something changes or it gets worse or you're experiencing a problem. I know that some folks have a trouble adjusting to life with an ostomy, and that's normal, and we all experience it. And sometimes folks aren't really comfortable dealing with output, but I really stress how how essential it is that you know what your output looks like, because the sooner you can identify a problem, the sooner you'll get it fixed and avoid future hospital stays and all the trauma that comes with that. And then finally, listen to your body. Like I said, you know your body best, and if something doesn't feel right, just please reach out to your medical professional for guidance, or book a, you want to get things treated sooner rather than later, because ostomies are kind of delicate, and they're kind of for some of us, they're our last chance for digestion, and or we have to go to liquid, what is it called, TPN, which is where you have to have that feeding tube. So make sure you're taking care of your body, you're getting walks in, you're making sure your meals are regular, you're getting your exercise, you're eating right, all the things your mom told you, just, with a few adjustments for your ostomy. All right, so let's chat. I think that Ariha will now kind of let people raise their hands, put questions, put questions in the Q&A or in the chat. Or if you want to, ask your question live, you can do that as well. So I see Joe. Joe is great. Thank you, Joe, for asking so many great questions. Well, first I see a question about how thick or thin should your output be. That's a really good question. Joe suggests that your output should be about oatmeal. I find there's a lot of variation in output. Sometimes output tends to be more watery, and sometimes it tends to be more like pancake battery. I think if it's any more thick than pancake batter, if you have an ileostomy, then you might be a little worried that you're not chewing very well. If you have a colostomy, I know that sometimes with colostomies, they often have one bowel movement, like once a day or twice a day. They have less frequent bowel movements than people with ileostomies. So, it might be more normal for them to have more thick formed output. All right. Is anybody else raising their hands right now?
You guys can also feel free to just unmute yourselves at this point if you have any questions. We do have one question from Marianne in the chat already about enemas and internal hemorrhoids. Do you see that, Siobhan?
I am looking for it at the moment.
You want me to just ask?
Yeah.
That'd be great. Hi, Marianne.
I was trying to unmute it and it kept getting muted, and then finally it unmuted. So it's probably operator issues. But
sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's me. But I'm an old hag at Crohn's. I was diagnosed in 1979, like I stated earlier, and the ostomy was in 2014. And of course, like I said, the surgeon told me I could eat whatever. And so this past year has been very, very challenging because we've been in lockdown due to the COVID, and I'm a compulsive overeater, and being stuck at home has caused a lot of issues. I've put on like 40 pounds over the past year. And I started in August riding my bike because I was going absolutely ballistic around here. So I am getting exercise. I'm not losing any weight though, but I am building muscle. So maybe it's going to take some time to do that. But I do notice that my stoma, after I've ridden my bike, sometimes I'll get like a cramp. And I think it's from working those muscles. And so you already sent me a thing about one-on-one help. So I'm going to check that out too, because I think we need a lot of support right now with what's going on. And, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do drugs. So food is my choice of addiction, I guess. So that's kind of where I am right now.
For sure. I think you raised some really great points. It's hard to balance. We can't get away with not eating food, and it's hard to balance, feeling our mental health and our overall emotional well-being with being stuck in the house all day. I can completely identify with that. I would say, if you are starting to exercise more, sometimes I've noticed personally when I exercise that I do get a little crampy around the stoma. I think, it comes down to a dehydration, dehydration issue, but also, our musculature in our bodies, if you think about it, our stomas are protruding through our muscle walls, and some of us might have like peristomal hernias where the inside is sort of, the muscle walls aren't containing all the internal organs. So biking, especially, you're compressing that area, and it's not surprising that you might have some cramping from that. But it's a really good point that, if you are doing some exercise with your ostomy, that sometimes that compression can cause issues and some uncomfortableness. So, keep that in mind, that, go slowly and build up your endurance. But if you're starting to hurt, I would stop. And then, about the point about, overeating, I totally understand that. I think a lot of us as ostomates have been through, I would say that we've experienced some medical post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. We've been through all these incredibly difficult and invasive procedures. We've been through a lot of physical pain, especially if we're coming from like cancers or from digestive diseases like Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. So, we're trying to deal with that emotional impact, and it can be really, really difficult and scary. And so, I applaud you for recognizing that, we've been in traumatic medical situations. We've had a traumatic year, being stuck at home. And that if you keep pursuing things that are healthy for you, the biking, recognizing that you don't want to overeat, all of those things are just going to, help you out. In terms of the rectal bleeding, though, I would say, gosh, you're in a difficult spot. Has he ruled out any disease in the rectum?
Yeah, I've had, I'm in quite often for colonoscopies and things like that. But I have like only like a quarter of my colon left. So usually I get like a flexible SIG. And I'm pretty good about getting in and getting that, and they haven't found anything. They were seeing something on an x-ray, but it just evidently, they thought it was a blockage in the rectal area, but it was actually the way they had looped the ostomy. It was showing up weird on the x-ray. So that was all fine and everything. And I have fibromyalgia too, which doesn't help matters. I mean, it's all an autoimmune thing, so it kind of comes hand in hand. So I've been dealing with that since like 1990s. And I'm in pain every day, but I deal with it because I'm so used to it. So it's like someone who doesn't have pain, all of a sudden has pain, goes, oh my God, this is excruciating. Me, it's just another part of the day.
Right.
So I kind of deal with it, and I've had to deal with it, and no one's going to deal with it for me. So I've got to take care of it myself. So I try to have a really good outlook on that, but sometimes it does get me down. So I think the one-on-one will be something I need to look into.
Absolutely. I highly encourage you, Marianne, it's a half hour. I'm one of the coaches, but the other two coaches also have ostomies, and we've been training each other. It's a fairly new program, so we're still working things out. But I would say, the folks that we've talked to have said it's been very, very helpful for them. The half hour is your time to talk about, whatever's going on. It's not just like, oh, we're going to tell you how to eat. We're there to, commiserate some,
right.
a lot of us do experience chronic pain or other things along those lines. So yeah, I highly, I don't want to beat a drum too much and say, go to coaching, but for sure, I'd love, if it's me, if I'm available, or Emily or Lynette, who are other coaches, come talk with us and help manage that, that stress of daily living, because it's who better to commiserate with and to share our pain with, and talk about, only things we know than other ostomates.
Well, yeah. And being as I'm 72 years old, well, almost 72 in May, I have a lot to offer myself because I've been through this for quite a while. And I am actually in the process of writing a book, a funny book kind of thing. It's called To Go or To Go Faster. And so I'm writing a book about my life with Crohn's and the ostomy and all that. And I've been working on it for a couple of years, but I've never written a book before. So it's all new stuff to me. But yeah.
Congratulations on your book. I am so excited to hear
Thanks.
about it. And, please share it with us. Because like I said, if we can all share with each other what it is, that we're going through and create that support network, we're all going to be better off for it. A rising tide lifts all boats.
Well, I could probably email you a copy of what it is so far if you'd like.
Fantastic.
So
does anybody else have any questions? We have a few more minutes to talk.
I know we talked about this a little bit before, but one of the most common questions that we do get is about blockages. And so I wonder if we can dive into that a little bit more as well, about how to keep track of what foods cause blockages, what usually causes blockages, and how to prevent those.
Right. Those blockages, yeah, they're just such a bugbear. Blockages are, when the food itself cannot pass through the stoma, or, as Marianne mentioned, sometimes you get a weird loop in your bowel and, the bowel twists on itself and it's compressed and food can't pass through. So in either case, whether there's a food buildup that can't pass through or you have that bowel twist, it definitely requires medical attention. If you're monitoring your output, you should be seeing output regularly. If you're not doing output regularly, if there's been little to no output for 6 to 8 hours, you notice your stoma is swelling, you notice some pain, either upon eating or you have a lack of appetite. If you're passing liquid, but you've eaten solids, those can be signs of blockages. So yeah, I please contact your medical professional, but and definitely let them know that this is a very serious case. Sometimes when you call your PCP, your primary care doctor or provider, they may be like, okay, we can get you in Tuesday, but that's lovely. But if it's Friday afternoon, it's going to be bad by Tuesday. So certainly pay attention and don't be afraid to be the squeaky wheel and, manage your blockages and get it resolved.
Hello, my name is Gerald McKelvey.
Hi, Gerald. Welcome.
My first time joining you.
I'm glad you're here.
Well, I'm glad I could get in here too. I wanted to ask you, is there any way, I really wanted to get to the seminar on the leakage, and I wasn't able to. I've printed up the PDF, but is there any way I could get a streaming version of that I could watch that?
Absolutely. I know that we are going to be redoing it as well, but yes, we do have a recording that we can share with you, right, Ariha?
Absolutely. We do. And I'm just checking on our schedule to see when our next leakages webinar is. I actually believe it's going to be next week. So, or no, 2 weeks from now. So on the 1st of April, we are holding another ostomy and leakages seminar. It's at the same time, same place, 11 a.m. PST, 2 p.m. Eastern. So you're welcome to join us at that time, but we'll also be happy to send you the recording.
Yeah, if you could do that, I would really appreciate it. Do you need an email or something?
Yes, that would be great. Please, if you could, in the chat, just send us your email. That would be perfect.
Okay. I'm 83 years of age. I've had my ostomy a little better than a year. I have a hernia on one corner of the stoma, which makes it very difficult to keep any kind of a wafer on. I have a lot of blowouts, and my ostomy is always active during the night. I can't tell you how many times I've had to change the bed. You know, it's really difficult. And I came off of a 62-day hospitalization last year, and then my wife went into hospice in July and passed away in November after 63 years of marriage. So it's been a tough year.
It has. Well, you know, I'm so sorry to hear about your wife in passing, and it has been a really tough year for you. I love that you're here and you're joining us and you're trying to solve problems. You know, you remind me so much of my own grandfather, who's still, you know, who's very media savvy, social media savvy, and he's still posting at Twitter at 90 something years old. So thanks for coming today. We'll get you a link. And then what sort of products are you using? Are you using Hollister, Coloplast?
I'm using Hollister setup. And the other question I wanted to ask, it would be a real solution solver for me. Is there anybody who makes a larger bag that you could put on at night?
What
I
kind of,
empty my bag anywhere from 3 to 4 times during the night.
wow. What kind of ostomy do you have?
It's just a regular ostomy.
I mean,
Colonoscopy.
okay, colostomy. Yeah, there are some bigger bags. There's also some a hernia specific product that I'm thinking of that might, it's actually made by Coloplast, that I've heard people have really, really great.
Is that the flip one?
Hmm?
Is that the one that flips?
That's the one that flips. Have you tried that?
I've tried it. I didn't have any success with it.
Okay. Well, what we could do is we could set up, you know, a coaching session, and we could talk through different products and get some more details from you. And that way we can figure out, you know, what products might be best for you, so that you don't have to change the bed, because yeah, I agree. That is the worst. There's nothing so awful as like waking up from a dead sleep and then finding yourself in an unfortunate situation. You have to change.
And it happens, you know, at least once every other week.
Yeah, we should definitely, yeah, let's connect.
Well,
You know,
last night was a good example. At 11 o'clock last night, I noticed that it broke the barrier. It hadn't leaked yet, but it broke the barrier. So I put a new appliance out about 11:15 last night and went to bed at 3:30 this morning. I woke up with a mess. You know, 3 hours on it. It's ridiculous.
yeah, certainly. Let's set up a coaching session with you. And that way, you know, we'll figure out what's going on, because certainly you should be getting more than 3 hours out of your
I can't explain it. I've had appliances that stayed on as up to about 6 days.
Yep.
Average is probably less than 2 days.
Yeah. We can. I bet we can problem solve.
Then I'll get one like this, 3 to 5 hours, and it's gone. You know, you just never know, and it's a constant problem and a constant headache. And
yeah, certainly you should. More than
just click on chat and give you my name and phone number and email.
Yes. Yeah. Make sure you want to put it to the panelists. That's me and Ariha. You know, you don't want to probably broadcast your personal information to.
It's set as the default, so that's fine. You can just use the chat to send us those details, Gerald. Thank you so much.
All right. I know that we are past 11:45, so we don't want to keep you if you don't if you have to move on to the next thing in your day. But we can also, we'll stay on a little bit longer and answer any more questions. But I do want to make sure that you know, these webinars are meeting your needs. So there's a quick poll that we do at the end of the webinar. Ariha will put it up. It takes 20 seconds. They're easy questions. It tells me how I'm doing, you know, and it tells us, you know, what the need for information is out there. So if you could take this quick poll, and then we'll continue with a few more questions.
I'll launch the poll, and you should see it on your screen right now. And also, I see that Marianne has raised her hand, so I'm not sure if she has another question.
Marianne, go ahead. Yeah.
For Gerald, I know what he's going through because the first year that had my ostomy, I went through all of that. I would wake up, I'd have a mess in the bed. I mean, it's a matter of finding what product works for you the best. And then, I have a larger bag. I have an ileostomy, but I have a larger bag, and I had to finally, after 2 years, I wasn't getting any sleep. And so I finally had to ask somebody, God, don't they make a bigger bag? And now I'm getting like 6 hours of sleep at night because of this larger bag. So I can totally relate to what he was talking about.
Absolutely. Yeah, me too. Sonia, I see your hand is up. What is your question? You have to unmute yourself though.
Who are you talking to?
I see that Sonia has raised her hand. But she's muted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Sonia, we can hear you.
Yes, hi. I had, like you, very bad ulcerative colitis since 1993 for 4 years. And finally at Mayo Clinic, I had my colon removed and rectum, and I had whole ileostomy done, which is a blessing. And I learned how to change the bag. But the unfortunate thing is I developed hernia, and I had the hernia surgery in Norfolk, Virginia, and I got it back. So I'm going back to Mayo Clinic the second time, but I'm very successful with the bags, the Coloplast, and I'm using protective sheets and then the ring and the strips. And sometimes I had accident and it leaks like yesterday. It does happen, but not that often. My problem is, like I say, the hernia. And my problem is remove all this sticky stuff. And I am using 4 or 5, 6 of different products to remove all this stickiness from the protective sheet, from the ring and all that. Maybe you can suggest to me some good product that I don't need to use so many. That's the most consuming time to remove the sticky stuff. And I can tell you exactly what I'm using.
Yes, please do.
Okay, I do have the Unisolve Smith and Nephew, which I always use minimum 2 of them. Yesterday I used 4 of that. Then same time I'm using Brava adhesive remover, Coloplast, and then I'm also using same time Sensicare adhesive remover, and the worst one that does nothing, but I do have it, so I'm using the Safe and Simple, which I never will order again. I just want to use it up. So what kind you use? I don't know if you using the protective sheets like I'm using to keep the skin healthy. That's number one question. I am also used to be a nurse, but I never had to deal in my career with ileostomy, ostomies, period. That was a long time ago. And then I became dietitian. I know what to eat. And I like to eat healthy food, but I'm also obsessive eater. So Weight Watchers was very successful for me. But because of I didn't go for 4 years. I had knee replacement and the colitis was so bad, I was not able to leave the house. And now the coronavirus, I wouldn't go. But that's very helpful for anyone who is obsessive eater if they want to join Weight Watchers. But I also gained like 6 pounds, 7 pounds since the surgery, and I really need to lose like 30 pounds. My problem is eating very large meals in one sitting, like 2-3 times a day. But I don't have any blockage, which I'm very lucky because I eat lots of onions, cabbage, raw vegetables. My problem is the hernia. So number one help I need with the removal of the sticky problems.
Right. So good question, Sonia, and thank you so much for sharing some of your story. You know, I'm sure we can all really relate. I would say with your barrier, if you're using the protective sheets, do you need to use the protective sheets? Is your skin in good condition, or are you trying to resolve?
Yes, it's in good condition. Until I learned what to do, took like 3-4 months, and I developed hole. Like the surgery was October 19, and when I got home, I didn't know how to take care of the skin because I didn't learn nothing about ileostomies or taking care of the skin, unfortunately, so many years ago. So I developed hole, and then I learned how to take care of it. So I'm using so my skin is in great shape now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm using the protective sheets because I'm worried. So make sure the output so sometimes spills, and it's never really, it's very thick, but I drink a lot. I drink a lot of seltzer. Is that bad? I don't drink any sodas.
I think, yeah, the seltzer, as far as the carbonation, I don't think the carbonation affects has any more effect, or, you know, like on the ostomy barrier, and it's what shape it is in, than like an acidic output. So I don't think this, you know, it will give you more gas, certainly, but the seltzer shouldn't be a problem. I'm wondering, you know, since you did have surgery not too long ago, you know, and you said your skin is now in great shape.
Yeah.
You know, if the skin barrier is hurting more than helping, would you be willing to like just go to using a skin protectant skin wipe or spray instead of the sheet itself, and then applying your barrier just directly to the skin? You do want to make sure that when you apply your barrier, there's no holes around, you know, the stoma, besides the stoma hole itself. But I hope you know what I mean, that that your barrier is very snug to your stoma, and you've added any paste or, you know, a barrier.
I cannot use paste, used to burn me terribly and give me sores. So I don't use paste. Only one time when I got home from Mayo Clinic, the home nurse used paste, and she really burned me with it. So I never used paste before, anymore after. But anything else would be okay. So what you say, I using the protective sheets protect the skin, but maybe I don't need it, right? Because my skin is very nice.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. If your skin is in good condition, if it looks like, if the skin under the barrier looks like the skin on the rest of your torso, then yeah, you should be able to stop using the barrier sheet and move to, you know, the skin spray or wipe. That will help. That will also help with when you remove the barrier. It'll help protect the skin from that, you know, process of peeling the barrier away, so your skin stays protected.
So I am using. So like I say, I used to use protective sheets, which you say don't use it. On top of it, I use the ring, C-ring.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm using the Coloplast and Suramio 2 parts. So then I put after I put the ring, then I put the first part of the Sensura Mio, and then I connect the back. So, okay, so you suggested skip the protective sheets and then use the ring, of course, right?
That's right.
The ring I always have to use, and then I use the other stuff, the Coloplast Sensura, the first part and second part is the back. So what would, and then I also use to hold it in place, I'm always using the strips.
Yep.
The strips, I always have to use that, right? So won't be leakage.
Yes. So Sonia, I want to make sure that we keep answering your questions because you're asking really important questions. And I really would hope that you would be up for signing up for a coaching session with us. We can send you a link for that. And then that way, you know, we can spend a half hour, you and I, or Emily or Lynette, and, you know, really, you know, go step through your process and make sure you're getting the best seal so that you can avoid leakages.
Sure. Only, I definitely will do that. Just, I know I am taking long time. Just which one from what I'm using you would suggest the removal? Which one would be the best? The
The remover.
Unisol
Yeah.
or the Brava? The Brava. Okay, which one from these three is the best? Unisol by Smith and Nephew, or the Brava, or the Sensicare? Which one from the three is the best?
You know, I can give you my personal recommendation, which is I've had the best results with the Brava adhesive remover.
Okay, so how many you using before you remove all your stickiness?
Well, I'm using a spray, so I just spray.
Oh, you use in spray?
Yes.
Oh, so I will use in spray, because when you say spray, I didn't know what you meant. Okay, yeah. So tell them spray is better than the pads, right?
That's my experience, but you know, everybody has different product preferences.
So what you using? You just use this. You just use the ring and the spray, right?
That's right.
And what product you using? You also using the Coloplast Sensura Mio?
I am also using the Sensura Mio, and it works well for me, but I know for some people it didn't work for them and they're using Hollister.
It works good for me. So, and you're using 2 parts or 1 part?
I'm using 1 part. But Sonia, okay. I'm so sorry. We do
okay.
have and there's a link in the chat. If you open up the chat and you can sign up, it's a direct link for the coaching. So I highly encourage you to sign up for that, to click that link. And that way.
Okay, where is the link? What I should look?
On your.
So the link is in the chat. What we'll also do is it's actually related to another question. So Lois has a question about whether she can get this the recording of this webinar. So just to let you all know, after we end here, we will be sending you all an email with the recording of this webinar. And in that email, we'll also include a link to the coaching program. Again, like we said, it's a free one-on-one coaching program. So we'll include the link in the email. Please check your emails for the recording as well as the link to the coaching program. And you can also reply to that email if you have any further questions. I think we're at time.
Yes.
Okay, so, you know, thank you all so much for attending. Please keep an eye out for that email. And we hope to see you again next week for our next webinar.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.